Hi guys, Tom here. It's the 16th week in Ordinary Time and this is Extra-Ordo-Nary. So this week's theme, this week's word is awesome, which I am, and so are you. And this week we're called to think about all of the awesome things in our lives. What are the most awesome things to you? How do these things that are awesome help you recognise the presence of God in your life? And I think some of the celebrations this week are really awesome and should also help us to reflect on the awesome things in our lives and how we can better give thanks to God for those things. So Sunday is a day in Ordinary Time, and then Monday is the feast of Saint Mary Magdalene. Now, we don't know a huge amount about her, but what we do know is that she was healed by Jesus, and then she became a follower of Jesus and stayed with Jesus right the way through to his crucifixion and was part of the early church in the time after Jesus had returned to heaven. And what that can show us is how, if Jesus has an impact on our life, that we must then follow him and devote ourselves to him in the way that Mary did. So think about the way that Jesus impacted on your life and how that helps you follow him more closely. Tuesday is the feast of St. Bridget of Sweden. St. Bridget of Sweden is one of the patron saints of Europe. She was an incredibly important woman in the 1300s. She was originally married to the King of Sweden, but when he died, she sold all of her possessions and established a religious order called the Bridgetines. Now, these still exist today, and they do incredible work serving some really poor communities and making sure people get the healthcare that they need. St. Bridget left Sweden and travelled to Rome, where there was a health epidemic, and she worked really closely with the people there, serving them and trying to ensure that they received better conditions and they were looked after better. And she had a huge influence on the Pope and lots of other of the church's leaders at the time in trying to ensure that the sick were looked after. So she's an incredibly important woman in the history of the church and really gives us a great example of how we should serve the sick and needy in our community. Wednesday is the feast of Saint Charles Makhlouf, which I've probably pronounced wrong, but he was from Lebanon in the 1800s, and there are lots of miracles attributed to him. He lived as a hermit for a while. But what's really impressive and really cool and really awesome is that he is someone who is revered and looked upon as important by both Christians and Muslims, and he really has helped to unite those two communities in the Lebanon. So he's a wonderful example of uniting faiths and cultures together, as we should all be aiming to do. Thursday is the feast of St. James the Apostle. Now, St. James was one of the 12 who were part of Jesus' closest inner circle, and after Jesus' return to heaven, St. James was the leader of the church in Jerusalem. So while St. Peter went off to Rome to lead the church from there, James stayed in Jerusalem and led the church from the part of the world where Jesus lived. Friday is the feast of St. Joachim and St. Anne. Now, these are two really, really important people because they were the mum and dad of Mary, who eventually became Jesus' mother. So they had a huge role in raising her, teaching her how to live a good life. And I think it often calls for us to reflect on our parents and the people who raise us and the people who look out for us and the people who help make us the person we are today. I know that my own family are really awesome people and people who really help and inspire me to be a better person and to grow closer to God. So maybe reflect a bit on the most important people in your lives and how they help you become a better person. So as said at the start, this week's word is awesome. I'd love to see some comments below on the things that you think are awesome in your life, the people who are awesome, maybe some of the places that you've been are awesome, or whatever it is. I hope you have an awesome week. I'll see you again soon. Goodbye.